Just here at the Raleigh office in North Carolina. And today we'll be going through the routine weekly briefing covering the period starting today, the 11th, and going through December 17th. So really rapidly approaching the holiday time period there towards the end of the briefing. All right, lots of information on this slide. I'll go through it relatively slowly here and point out some things. So for tonight on the far left-hand panel, dry, but a little breezy out there if you stepped outside. Some gusts up to 20, even some 30-mile-an-hour gusts out there today. That should continue through the day, tapering off for the most part this evening, but staying dry today. Tonight into Friday morning, a little bit of a surprise, maybe if you haven't been paying attention to the forecast. We do have some flurries and or some light snow possible in that favored area, as we always say, north of the I-85 corridor, but better chances towards the North Carolina-Virginia border. Early Friday morning, potentially lingering into the mid-morning hours. We'll dive a little bit more into those details here in a second. And then we'll go into Saturday as that chance of snow moves off during the day and afternoon on Friday. We'll be quiet. We'll be between two different fronts on Saturday and should leave the conditions over central North Carolina relatively quiet. But we'll have this stronger Arctic front. You can kind of see I'm kind of moving my mouse back and forth here on the center panel. This front will then approach the southern Appalachians Sunday and push through the area on Sunday, maybe late afternoon, evening into the overnight period. Should bring a strong Arctic front and some cold temperatures to our region heading into early next week. But just ahead of that front, we'll have another chance of some rain, or at least some precipitation chances Sunday ahead of that front. Primarily rain right now. The cold it hasn't really gotten into our area, and it's not fairly favorably timed as is during the day. Mostly on Sunday. So primarily rain we're expecting for that. But the bigger hazard there will most likely be the gusts, maybe immediately ahead, but especially behind the front. Strong wind gust, 25, 35 miles an hour will be most possible. Sunday, late Sunday, and especially into the overnight period as well. And then Monday, the big hazard there, we may have been advertising on several briefings and in our hazardous weather outlook. The bitter cold temperatures, especially Monday morning. Sunday night, it will especially be cold Monday night and even into Tuesday morning, but Monday morning will be the coldest temperatures we are expecting. So air temperatures in the teens with apparent temperatures of what it will feel like Monday morning, even into the single digits in most places. And we'll get into more of those details here in a second as well. All right, so I mentioned the big bad S word, snow. So here's a little bit more details for you. So we'll go into potentials for accumulations here in a second, or here on this slide, and then we'll go into the timing on when we're expecting the potential for some of these amounts here. So for now, probability of certain snowfall thresholds. So what you see here on this graphic is the left image here is the probability of 1/10 of an inch or more. So kind of think of that as mostly just the probability of a dusting. So you can kind of see, or hopefully you can see that the probabilities or percents on the screen there range from, very low amounts, especially towards the triangle, to as much as maybe 20% chances towards the triad and up towards the Virginia, North Carolina border. And then our 1 inch threshold, which is our advisory threshold, probabilities of that basically nil across our area, especially better chances up towards the Virginia, North Carolina border, and especially as you cross the border into Virginia. So again, mostly just flurries, light snow possible, mainly across the north, and we're not expecting any impacts at this time with these totals. All right, so I have an animation playing here. I try to make it as slow as possible, so hopefully it shows up okay as it's kind of moving across the screen there. I will verbally say, for the most part, what we're expecting here. So key points, again, patchy light snow or flurries, with a light dusting possible, most likely on elevated surfaces, but that time period on any accumulations is most likely going to be before sunrise. So anytime after sunrise and temperatures really start to increase, and you have some influence from the sun, even if it's through some cloud cover, will make any accumulations very difficult to accumulate after sunrise. So kind of keep that in mind. Any potential for accumulations will most likely be before that 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock time frame there. So what about the start time for any precipitation starting to fall from the sky? Kind of the triad expects early morning. Triad, Roxborough, better chances for starting before sunrise there, 4 a.m., 6 a.m. And I wouldn't take these for the exact hour that things would start, kind of centered around that time, or maybe an earliest reasonable time that some of this may start, as where you can think about that. And then over towards Roanoke Rapids, up into closer to the Virginia border, closer to 7 a.m. And then ending time, and I will try and reiterate here that it won't be snowing the entire time, maybe just periods of some light snow or flurries. It most likely won't be constant snow falling from the sky during this time period here. So, but ending in the triad somewhere around 11 a.m. and as we're going, especially into Roxborough, Roanoke Rapids, the noon time frame, and again, anytime after sunrise, accumulations will be very difficult to achieve. All right, moving forward, what's a reasonable worst case scenario snowfall for this event? Mostly just trace amounts to as much as half an inch is probably your reasonable worst case scenario for this event. So you can kind of think of this as what's the high end total of the snowfall for heading into tonight and into Friday morning. And you can kind of see those there on the screen there for your area. All right, and then we'll move on a little bit. I mentioned some cold temperatures Monday morning, so I prepared some graphics for everyone for some visual for your area. The left graphic is your minimum air temperature, so what we kind of discuss as the temperature, the minimum temperature that it would fall to Monday morning. And then on the right is more of what it would feel like. Should still be some light to stirring winds through Monday morning, so that may lower the temperatures quite a bit into the single digits in most places. So our cold weather advisory criteria has some single digits down across the Sandhills, Southern Piedmont coastal plain, portions of the coastal plain area, and below 5 degrees. So we're really buttoned up against some of that threshold there. So we're monitoring that closely for any potential headlines for Monday morning. All right, so that's the big headline news here. We'll kind of go into some of our normal slides here real quick, and I'll circle back, especially for any questions. Drought update, fresh, hot off the press for today. Not a whole lot of change, some slight improvement, mostly across southeastern North Carolina. You can kind of see the graphic from last week had some larger areas, some moderate drought. Several chances of some rain, light rain, and even the widespread closer to an inch really helped pull some of these areas into some of the lower categories there. And it's been fairly dry out across the west, so you can see a slight degradation there as well. But overall, not a huge change this week. And then looking a little bit farther out, heading into mid to maybe even late December, we're looking at favoring above normal temperatures in that December 18th to the 24th time period, and then also a little bit drier. So maybe if you guys are familiar, classic kind of La Nina type climatological pattern there starting to show up there heading into late December. And you can see our normal temperatures for our main 3 climate sites down there across the bottom, with Greensboro, your normal high, now below 50, so getting a little chilly. And then just a graphical representation of our hazardous weather outlook. You can kind of see that the Sunday night into Monday morning is highlighted in that elevated risk for some extreme cold, and that's the time period we were highlighting earlier with the temperatures in the teens and apparent temperatures in the single digits. And then we'll kind of conclude that here. Hopefully this briefing was informative and answered many of your questions. Just a quick summary here: dry today, winds 20 to 30. So those light snow or flurries possible tonight and Friday morning. Best chances for any kind of accumulation, especially on elevated surfaces, would be the Virginia, North Carolina border and points northward. But some flurries as far south of the Triad Triangle and maybe in towards the Asheboro, Rocky Mount areas. And then another chance, light rain mostly Saturday night into Sunday, but behind that Sunday is where we're going to have our better chances for some really cold temperatures and potentially hazardous temperatures, especially Monday morning there. I thank you all for joining me today on Thursday. We will see you again, if you have no questions, on Monday.